Welcome to ReuP, the talk show, where we're kicking it and having fun on inspirational radio. ReuP, the talk show, kicking it and having fun. So turn your radio up.
Hey, what's up everybody? This is Shelton from the ReuP, and I wanted to do a quick introduction to this show, this snippet of a show that we did last Friday. The topic of this particular segment is Will Smith and Chris Rock. I want to talk a little bit about the infamous slap that happened 3 months ago, the apology that just happened recently, and just give you guys a point of view or a different point of view about that. So, tune in, listen. As always, subscribe, comment, share. We're making this a movement, so definitely need your support. And I'll get back with you after this show. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Because if you've been keeping up with the news today, about 3 months ago on the Oscars, Will Smith walked on the stage and smacked Chris Rock.
Yes, that happened.
I remember when I first saw the little clip, I thought it was a joke.
I thought they staged it too. My sister, she swore that they done staged this, just to get ratings or whatever. But as the days went on and the stuff went down, if it was staged, it didn't go over well. But, I don't know. Because you're thinking two big famous people like that, you thinking, they just, and then him being a comedian, and then, Will got his comedic side, so we think, they just acting crazy. But, as it got quiet, and it's like, maybe this ain't staged. I don't know.
Well, I saw Lupita's face.
The other people.
Lupita was sitting behind him. He sat back down, and he was running. He was still talking to him, and her face looked like, what in the world? Like, what's going on here? But so if you haven't heard, he apologized, or he attempted to apologize to Chris Rock today, and I want to play a little bit of his apology, for you guys, and you'll see why I wanted to play it at this point and why I wanted to move it around, because you talked a little bit about trauma, right? So I want our listeners, I want us to kind of look at this from a lens of trauma and kind of see what's happening here. So,
why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point. It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out. So I will say to you, Chris, I apologize to you. Behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk. I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I saw an interview that Chris's mother did, and that was one of the things about that moment. I just didn't realize, and I wasn't thinking, but how many people got hurt in that moment. So I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I want to apologize to Chris's family, specifically Tony Rock. We had a great relationship. Tony Rock was my man, and this is probably irreparable.
I'm gonna pause it right there. It's a little bit more with it, but my first thought when I first heard this, and I'm glad Will said what he said. I think people, when we react to stuff, we don't think about the consequences. And I appreciate the fact that he looked and I guess in retrospect, understood that his actions really affected and let down more people than just him and Chris Rock. You know, what are your thoughts on that part?
Oh, that's so true, man. That is like the biggest thing in a situation like that, or even infidelity. You think it's just you and old girl creeping to the hotel room, but it hurts so many people when that comes to light, because at the end of the day, people that look up to you, people that are outside of your situation, that look, oh, they got a good marriage, they got a good situation, they feel hurt and let down by your shortcomings, or by you making bad decisions or what have you. And so it's just so many people that are connected to you in different ways. And my mom always said, somebody is always watching you, even when you don't see them. Somebody is always watching you. And as I live and as I grow, I find that to be more and more true, because people will let you know in certain moments where they might feel, hurt, or whatever the case may be. Man, I really, looked at you this way. Man, I really thought you was da 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 da. And you're like, wow, I never knew that you was even looking at me in such a way, And in that moment, you feel the weight of that situation. What you did affected them, and they weren't even there. They weren't even a part of what you did or whatever, but they're hurt because they were connected to you. And just like Chris, I mean, his family didn't get slapped, but they connected to him, and so they felt the pain nevertheless.
Mm-hmm. And it divides our community, because they two Black famous stars that kids like, us, we grew up watching them and being like the Fresh Prince, and then Chris Rock, everybody, hates Chris or whatever. And you grew up liking both of these people, they icons. And then when they seem like the one attacked the other in front of everybody, it's like, oh man, we losing our heroes right on TV. Mm-hmm. It's like, we don't love each other. Like, what's going on? And then you almost feel like you're forced to pick a side.
Right.
Like I heard a lot of the comments, because I still like them both, but it's almost as if, man, he got slapped. Man, I need to defend him. Yeah, he should have defended his one. And it brings more division in a community that's already traumatized, that's already suffering, that's already trying to get their head above water to figure out anything. And now my hero is like, punching him up. Mm-hmm. So just bring the divide to his family. Then I got to pick a side. Who do I side with?
Right.
What do I do? It just seems like it put pressure in different areas, and mm-hmm. It had a ripple effect immediately. You banned from the Oscars for 10 years. Okay, this is happening, immediately it puts effects. But then there's also long-term effects. That's short term. So you ain't going to the Oscars. Okay, but his mom, like, man, you just slapped my boy. He worked this hard, and he Black, and it's this hard to come up, and you just humiliated my son in front of everybody. And it's like, wow, dude. And then, even on his side, man, you talked about his wife, and then she got alopecia and her hair gone, and he made the joke. It's as if, you forced to pick a side. Now, who's right and who's wrong? Which there's no winners. There's no winners.
No. Let me play a little bit more of this.
I spent the last 3 months replaying and understanding the nuances and the complexities of what happened in that moment. And I'm not going to try to unpack all of that right now, but I can say to all of you, there is no part of me that thinks that was the right way to behave in that moment. There's no part of me that thinks that's the optimal way to handle a feeling of disrespect or insults. After Jada rolled her eyes, did she tell you to do something? No. It's like, I made a choice on my own, from my own experiences, from my history with Chris. Jada had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, babe. I say sorry to my kids and my family for the heat that I brought on all of us. To all my fellow nominees, this is a community. It's like I won because you voted for me, and it really breaks my heart to have stolen and tarnished your moment. I can still see Questlove's eyes. It happened on Questlove's award, and it's like I'm sorry really isn't sufficient. What would you say to the people who looked up to you before the slap, or people who expressed that you let them down? So there's two things. One, disappointing people is my central trauma. I hate when I let people down. So it hurts. It hurts me psychologically and emotionally to know I didn't live up to people's image and impression of me. And the work I'm trying to do is I am deeply remorseful, and I'm trying to be remorseful without being ashamed of myself, right? I'm human, and I made a mistake, and I'm trying not to think of myself as a piece of shit. So I would say to those people, I know it was confusing. I know it was shocking. But I promise you, I am deeply devoted and committed to putting light and love and joy into the world. And,
So, the part of this that I really, it caught me is when he used that word trauma to one describe, one of his quirks. I mean, even just listening to it again, it brought me to something that I think is important for people to get from this situation, and that's your internal battles. Like, I'm looking at his face, and I remember thinking a few months before that even happened, because that's they used to do the red table talk, and all the stuff came out about I can't think about that's in your name or whatever.
August Alsina.
Oh yeah, August Alsina, and the look on his face, even now, you can tell that there's a turmoil, going on, within him. And I don't know a lot about what Will Smith believes or anything like that, but I know in the few messages I've heard him and Jada talk, it's a montage of a whole bunch of different things, which brings me back to what I said earlier. There's a world out here that's looking for truth. They're looking for answers.
Yeah.
And what I see happening in this day and time is that everybody's pulling from all these different religions and different, beliefs, and a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, and they just coming up with, whatever kind of works for what they think in that situation, but they still looking for something. And so, I can't help but feel like Will, and maybe that's what he was kind of alluding to, the stuff that he's trying to process in his head, that he's trying to figure all of that out, because, he called it a mistake, and yeah, it was a mistake, but, I guess you can consider it a mistake, but you on national TV, you walking in front of, that's some intentional
this and that. You know what I mean? And
Most
for
of
some-
our mistakes are intentional.
right.
Like, you don't accidentally cheat and fall into bed, you know, you can get in an accident, you know, you kind of, you know, thought about it a little bit, you know, even if it was, you know, that day or that moment, you know, so I get it.
But I think it's more, you know, maybe claiming insanity. You know, for that one moment, he won't think about nothing but going up and smacking, you know, somebody at this particular point. And so there was a scripture that kind of came to mind. I'm gonna pull it up real quick. And while I'm pulling it up, you guys have any more thoughts on the second part of that video?
Just that, you know, like he said, it definitely hurts me to hurt the people I love. You know, A. B, it definitely hurts me to let them down. You know, so much of who I am and my very existence is centered around the people that I love being able to depend on me for whatever it is. Like if you ask me to do whatever it is and I can do it, you know, I want you to know when I say yes, I'm going to do it, it's a done deal. We don't even have to think about it anymore. It's done. And so, you know, if for whatever reason I said yes, that I was going to do it, but didn't do it, then you were like, man, I was dependent on you. And I'm like, wow, it hurts me even more than the failure itself to know that I let you down. And that, you know, is something that, you know, I replay, like he said, over and over again. It's like, man, how did I fail at that? Or how could I have done that better? Or what could I have put in place to make sure that doesn't happen again? And so that is a lot of what, you know, when you're made like that and when that drives you, you know, you do things a certain way so that, you know, you can be dependent upon.
Get real.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it starts in your childhood and you don't deal with it. Because I know a little bit of Will talking about his background. Dad was abusive to his mom. That's traumatizing. You see a kid and you see your mom get like somebody punch it or whatever, the abuse, that's reshaping your brain. Like the way your brain functions and the way you perceive, it warps how you see things. It's changing you. Every hit is changing you. It's causing you to have a traumaful response to situations because of what you saw. And you have to protect yourself. Or it's all men like that. Or am I going to be like that? And so you might go overboard trying not to be like that. But even that's a traumaful response because you're fighting so hard to run away from something. And it's hard for us to deal with trauma, how to process trauma.
Right.
So then you bring a wife into your trauma. You bring kids into your trauma. You bring all these situations. You bring your job, your career into your trauma. You keep together at work, but somebody gonna get that trauma response.
Right.
It just depends on what audience. And when they get me in my, they didn't get me at a good moment, and the trauma's there. So then you got a perfect storm brewing, and somebody gonna get a response to trauma. Some people can hide it at work. And then you go home and your kids be in the corner, you know, but you got to get that money. So you take whatever they give you at work, but you come home and then you traumatize them. So I think it's a lot from the inside that has to be dealt with in our community, all of us, men, women. But to look at it and own it is the hardest thing to do.
But it starts there, you know, and you know, I'm gonna read this scripture from James, but you know, scripture comes to mind. In Genesis, where God says that it's not good for man to be alone. What you just described to me, like you don't figure out what's wrong or what's inside of you until you're in a relationship with someone or you're connected to someone, and someone challenges you in that particular area. That's why you can go to work, somebody can push a button, you didn't even know that was in you until you slap them, or said some words to them, or felt some type of way. So that's our relationships with other people. Actually, if we deal with them, I think the key point of it is addressing and having. People always talk about IQ, but EQ is important. Emotional awareness, knowing who you are emotionally, what you're capable of, what your strengths and your weaknesses are, is just as important as
IQ.
And sometimes you live in survival. You're not paying attention to who you are and what you're doing. You're trying to survive something that's not even happening.
Mm-hmm.
So the hardest part is to even know, first of all, oh, that's just me. They get on my nerves, I have to do that. That's what it is. You won't even own the fact that you may have some response that's not balanced.
Mm-hmm.
But to even own it is like a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just, oh, that's just me. They didn't want that. This is my third wife. Too bad. These women got to know. This is how it is. And then, it's always them.
Right.
But you become a factor. There's 3 husbands or it's 3 wives later.
Mm-hmm.
You got to sit down and say, maybe it might be the mirror. It might not be y'all. It might be me.
Yeah.
Or if you got 5 kids, none of them talk to you. Well, that's fine, but maybe I didn't. Maybe that's if you got one that don't talk, okay. You got 5 of them that don't talk to you. It's like, okay.
It might be you.
It might be. It just maybe. Just maybe.
Just might be.
So that's the hardest part, is to even sit down. It's sometimes too painful.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people are not going to sit down and take a look and say, God, what is it with me? Because the pain of everything that happened to them, some people can't even deal with what happened to them to even make them how they are. They won't touch it. And so what you're going to do, you're going to spew it out on every relationship, kids, whoever it's coming up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're only going to give what you got. That's all you can give. It's what you have.
Yeah.
Undealt with issues, surviving trauma, that's what you're going to give to your relationship, to your children, to your spouse, that's what is coming out, because that's all that's in you.
Yeah.
But if you don't deal with it and it's too painful for you to touch, you're probably not going to have good relationships.
Yeah.
And it don't mean you're going to get left. It means you could be in a house with somebody just as dysfunctional as y'all can be. You ain't touching your pain, they ain't touching their pain, but we keep on agreeing to pay the bills up in here. So just because you're together a long time don't mean nobody dealing with that either.
Right.
It just means we got an understanding.
Right.
People have a lot of understanding.
But you got to get to the point where you want to deal with it, and we like to deal with the fruit of stuff and not the root of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. That's how you.
Mm-hmm. You gonna run?
When you run.
He say we like to deal with the fruit, not the root.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all in here playing.
We playing.
Y'all in here
We
playing.
shaking.
Woo.
That's the truth, though.
But James 4:1-2 came to mind when I heard this apology, and the first part of the verse is what got me. It said, "What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? Don't they come from the desires that battle within you? You desire, but do not have. So you kill, you covet, but you cannot get what you want. So you want to quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask God." And so, if I were, able to talk to Will Smith, it would be, like I said, I know he's looking for the truth. I know he's looking for something, and I know that he's battling with a lot of different things. Like, people, especially in entertainment and things like that, where people have all of these expectations of you, and you have to, live to a certain standard. That's one amount of pressure. And he's married to, just as a successful person, and from what I hear about their marriage, they don't even get to spend a lot of time together. And you have infidelity, and you have all of these different things that probably aren't really dealt with, and in a lot of our communities, we don't want to go to counseling. We don't want to talk about it. We want to hide different things. But these battles within you, as long as they stay in you, to me, and they don't get addressed, then, like you said, it's going to come. It's going to go somewhere. So I think that's super, relevant to his apology. I hope, I wish both of them the best. Like you said, I'm very fond of both of their art. And I think, to me also the lesson is this: people got to understand how to separate the man from their gift, their gifting. You know what I mean? Will Smith is not, the Men in Black dude.
Yeah, I got you.
He's not the Fresh Prince. You know, Chris Rock isn't really. You know, I saw the interview he did with Kevin Hart not too long ago. Didn't know he had gone through a divorce, but you know, when I looked at his face, he's going through some type of hurt and pain, and really trying to, you know, probably figure out this season.
We don't want our heroes to be human.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We don't know. My Superman got kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want him to have kryptonite, but your hero just like you.
Your pastors.
They just like you.
Just like you.
They just
Your
got their
favorite
call
singer.
to preach. They got their call to sing. He got his call to act. But at the end of the day, you want him or her to be something that you're not even willing to put the pressure on yourself to be.
Yeah.
It's like you got flaws, you act crazy, but if you find out they human and they got flaws and they act crazy, all of a sudden, oh no, they disqualified. It's like, oh no, what the heck wrong with them? Well, what's wrong with you?
It goes back to that story we talked about with Bishop when the lady said, that's the reason why I don't go to church. I heard people say I don't go to church because people in church, they be acting, you know, they just be acting just as sinful as anybody else. I'm like,
You go to work.
that's because you
Mm-hmm. Don't play. Don't play.
You know, we all in there. We got something that we struggling with. That's why we there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Once Adam's sin, the sin nature was inherited on all mankind. You don't even get a choice. You born in sin.
Mhm.
It don't matter what your name is, rich, poor, in between. Adam took care of that for everybody. Once he sinned, he brought all the mankind down. So we all got something. And you probably don't have something till you die. Something. But you don't want to have the same thing all your life till you die. You do want to fight, you know, and struggle and toil to get to the best part of you. Because it's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
Because that sin nature is always there. As long as you got this body, it's going to be that sin nature just trying to overtake the spirit. And the battle is you fighting to let your spirit overrule your flesh. But the fight is real.
Yep.
Paul said, when I would do good, evil is always present. I was going to be nice to him. They got mad and I slapped him. I was getting ready to. Paul said, in my members, it's a fight. He wrote 13, maybe 14 books in the Bible. Now, he was fighting.
Yeah.
He done told you it's a fight. It's a fight.
It's a fight.
Your heroes got kryptonite.
Hey everybody, I hope you guys liked that episode. Some real fun times. Always great to be in the studio with Lasagna Witt and Dion, Mr. Dynamite Miller. We hope we were able to give you a different point of view and really share some good thoughts with you. As always, looking for your comments, looking for your support. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And join us for this Friday coming up at 7 o'clock on the ReuP online. We're going to catch you on Facebook, we're going to catch you on YouTube, and jagape.com. That's www.jagape.com. Love you guys. See you soon.